Yeah, so over the years, we would have encountered a lot of times some couple making mistakes, which is understandable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, wedding planning is very complex.
Yes.
And it can be a stressful process.
Yes.
So it's easy to make mistakes.
Yes,
It is, especially if you are planning for yourself.
Yes.
You know, this first time you're planning a wedding.
Exactly. So it's nothing to feel bad about, but I mean, we could identify some common mistakes that you can think about before, so you wouldn't have to make them.
Yes.
Right? And I think one of those mistakes is not having a budget.
Yes.
First.
Yes.
Right? Have a budget for your wedding.
In place,
right?
yeah.
Know how much you want to spend and how much you want to allocate to this wedding.
Yeah, because it's easy for things to just spiral out of control.
Yes, fact. Even if your budget is exorbitant or you want to have a big wedding,
that's fine.
It's still good to still have a budget.
Yeah, just have something in place.
In place, yes.
And even in setting the budget, you want to identify things that are priority to you. And prioritize accordingly or properly.
Yes,
because if you don't do that, you could end up overspending in an area where that wasn't as important
to you. Yes.
And then you have to underspend
on the thing that is more valuable
to you.
Yes, that is very true.
So you really want to prioritize properly, know what is important on the day to you.
Yes.
To you.
Another thing I would say is, I know procrastination is this big thing now, but that is something that you have to look at.
Yeah.
It's important to do things one time.
Yeah.
Right? So as you think about it, if you cannot do it one time, you plan when you are going to do it. Like
set a date. Yeah.
Like date time, this is when I'm going to do this, right? So as you think about it, because you will just come back sometime and realize, I did think about that, but I did not do it.
And I think a way to curb that procrastinating or not getting things done is by delegating, whether you have a planner, coordinator, a friend who could assist with certain aspects of calling around, doing this, just really not trying to do everything yourself. Because I mean, yes, it's your wedding, but you don't have to do everything by yourself.
Even if you can't do it alone, you don't need to do it alone.
You don't need to do it alone, yeah.
All right? Another common mistake is guest lists. Creating that guest list. I know that has been such a challenging task for most.
Yeah.
Right? We do understand that. But it's important.
What's the mistake? What's the mistake that they make when it comes to the guest list?
I think a common mistake with regards to the guest list, the mistake is trying to accommodate everybody or trying to accommodate too many people.
Yeah.
Right? If you have a budget and this is the amount of guests that your budget can handle, right? Then you have to try to stick to that.
Yeah.
Right? And I know it's difficult because sometimes a lot of people who you will want there will be left out. But there probably are other things that you could do to communicate with someone to let them know this is what is happening.
I think that could be a key thing,
But unfortunately, I cannot.
Yeah.
And that's something that you can do. Yeah.
And also having a set time for RSVPs as well.
Yeah.
Even with that guest list, know how many people actually come in, because then what if 20 people say they can't make it?
Yes.
You might be able
to invite someone else. Yes.
Somebody else. So having something in place for RSVP and So I mean, in these days, rain this fall, whenever rainy season. You don't know, right? But it's important to have a plan for the weather, even if you're like, okay, well, I'm not getting married in rainy season, so everything will be good, and you want to still have a plan. If something happens, if the weather is this particular way, what are we going to do?
Yes, yeah. And I think that even you mentioned rain, but even planning for the sun. Because that has been issues that we would have encountered. Because you have an outdoor wedding and it doesn't have a covering, but the sun is blazing. Right? So much that the guests could hardly stay out in the sun to enjoy the ceremony. Right? So that is an important factor.
So not ignoring the wedding.
Yes.
The weather.
The weather, yes.
Don't ignore the wedding.
I think as well, you see, once you hire a vendor for a wedding, do your proper research. Right? That is something important. Once you are booking somebody, do not book any vendor without doing proper research on that. Right? Make sure that you see or get reviews as much as possible, but do your due diligence in when booking a vendor, because these people control what happens in your wedding.
And most vendors will give you contracts and stuff. Read those contracts. Don't neglect reading through your contract. You need to know what you're signing up for. So I think that's a common mistake, that people just say, okay, this vendor is this amount, you pay that, and you don't go through all the fine details of what that really entails.
Another common mistake that I think is very, very important, you have to take care of yourself. I think taking care of yourself is something that is important, right? When you are planning your wedding, so make sure and put things in place that you're taking care of the couple. Take care of each other. You are going to spend a life together now, and that's something to remember. You are taking care of each other. Right? A lot of times in weddings, when planning and all those things, so many parties of information are bringing stuff, which is good to take, but you have to consider each other and take care of yourself together.